Hi folks, welcome to another episode of the A Minute to Midnight show. This is Tony coming to you from New Zealand. With me on the show I have my friend Joni Stahl in California, and Joni should need no introduction, having been many times on the show, but I know we've got a really interesting discussion ahead, so much to talk about, so tune in, and thanks for being back with us, Joni.
Yeah, it's really good to be back. We always have, it may be a time that we may not, in between time, we're busy, but when we do get together, it's always really good. And so I look forward to this brief discussion. We're going to try to get as much in and not try to jam too much into it.
Yeah, well, I guess, there's so much going on, and the Trump administration being in and rapid things happening is kind of like at the forefront, and to do with AI and all sorts of things. It's like we are really moving ahead in terms of Bible prophecy and so on, and I'll throw it to you to start on it.
Yeah, as soon as he was inaugurated, he didn't waste any time, right? He brought a little table into the arena and he was burning rubber on the executive orders. So obviously we're not here to talk about every single little thing, but there's the things that are happening at breakneck speed. They're happening so fast, it's almost impossible, even after 1 week that he's been in office, to keep up.
Yeah.
And so, again, the point is we're not going to be here to talk about all the little things. That can be other shows, I guess, or maybe not. But I think the important thing that we want to talk about, because it plays so much into the beast system, is this new AI infrastructure that he wants to be built. And it's called Stargate, of all things. And we all know that Stargate is another word for portal.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know if it doesn't really probably mean anything, but I think it was in 1977. The military had a project called Stargate, and it was for remote viewing. It went nowhere, but it was for psychic and remote viewing. And I thought that was so weird that there was a Stargate project in 1977. They scrapped it. Now here we are again with Stargate. Then, of course, we can't help but think about CERN, which they do refer to as a Stargate, an interdimensional portal, if you will, in between dimensions of angel technology, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and then you've got this golden age. Trump was touting the new golden age before he was even inaugurated. And then in the inauguration and since, he's mentioned it numerous times, which to me is like, whoa, that's very new age Babylonian type terminology to be using.
Definitely. And I'll just hop right into it. Alice Bailey, in her writings called, and you said you had a copy of it, of
the externalization of the hierarchy.
Yeah. So there's three things I'm going to read right now, which is so, I think, pretty mind-blowing. So if you don't mind, I have it written here. I think it's important definitely to read right now.
Yep.
Since you brought up New Age, right?
Yep.
Okay, so she says, excuse me, I have made this practical application and this immediate illustration of teaching and anant glamour, illusion, and Maya, because the whole world problem has reached a crisis today, and because its clarification will be the outstanding theme of all progress, educational, religious, and economic until 2025 AD. There's another portion in there where she says, thus, a great new movement is proceeding, and a tremendously increased interplay and interaction is taking place. This will go on until AD 2025. During the years intervening between now and then, very great changes will be seen taking place. And at the great General Assembly of the Hierarchy, held as usual every century, in 2025, the date in all probability will be set for the first stage of the externalization of the hierarchy. The present cycle from now until that date is called technically the stage of the forerunner. It is preparatory in nature, testing its methods, and intended to be disciples and aspirants affiliated with the hierarchy are all at this time passing through a great cycle of activity. And one more quote. This new released energy can prove itself a saving force for all mankind, releasing from poverty, ugliness, degradation, slavery, and despair. It will destroy the great monopolies, take the curse out of labor, and open the door into that golden age for which all men walk.
Well, that's real interesting for sure. Absolutely amazing. Now, I guess I think most of our listeners will know who Alice Bailey was, but just for those who don't, very quickly, she was the mother of the New Age movement, basically. Also the founder of the Lucifer Publishing Company, now known as the Lucis Trust, headquartered in the United Nations. They have a chapel in the United Nations building in New York, a meditation chapel and so on, the Lucis Trust. Basically, right there in the centre of the United Nations, so they're not some fringe organisation, and many leaders have been aspirants and followers of Alice Bailey, so this is quite amazing to hear her actually mentioning 2025, and then you've got Donald Trump in office in 2025, Donald Trump who has his Trump Tower full of images of Apollo and occult type things and so forth, and he's mentioning the Golden Age, which is a Bailey term. It's staggering, and we can see some of the outworking of why. So I'll give that back to you now, Joni.
It's really interesting that she mentions a forerunner. She said the stage, let me read this one part again. The present cycle from now until that date is called technically the stage of the forerunner. It's preparatory in nature. You know, I wonder if, because let's face it, there's no conclusive proof. You know, there's a lot of people saying, well, Trump is the Antichrist. There's no way he can't be. All signs point to it. But we have to really be careful too at the same time, because we don't know that.
No.
Can he be a forerunner? Right?
Yeah.
Now, I want to be careful because I know a lot of people love him, and this is not for me to sit here and trash him or do anything. We're just looking at clues. We're looking at things that are evident, and we're looking at where we are in Bible prophecy right now. Look at the things that are happening. It's just kind of interesting how in 1 week, it seems like all the nations just bowed. You know what I mean? Like We're talking Russia, China, like ones that are like the antagonists, right? There's such antagonism, and the speed at everything that's happening. And I kind of play around some scriptures in my mind, and it's like, who can make war with the beast? And the people wondered after him. And I'm not saying he's the beast. I'm just looking at certain things I know many people are looking at. Now, I want to talk about that tower. It really is. I have heard people call it this AI. It's a Trojan horse. People are calling it a Trojan horse, or the Tower of Babel 2.0, because it's going to be, you know, Larry Ellison. I'm going to read what Larry Ellison said about it in just a few words, because he put it, and this is from Leo Hohmann's.
Yeah. Okay. So just so people know quickly that Stargate was, Trump announced it, and that includes a partnership between Sam Altman from OpenAI, Larry Ellison, and he is from Oracle, and also a guy from SoftBank. Sun is his surname. I can't remember his first name. But so these people are the ones that Donald Trump had up there announcing the Stargate project with all its implications. So when we talk about Larry Ellison, who I think he's about 80 years old now, but he's a transhumanist basically, and I'll throw that to you now because this is some of the implications of what you are saying that Stargate is.
Well, a Stargate we're looking at as a portal like in the 70s, and I believe it was 1977, the military, remember I had spoken about there being a Stargate. But let me just read this, because in Leo's article, he quotes, "We entered a new golden age of America this week," quoting Trump.
Yeah.
And his Project Stargate is the plan to make America the world capital of AI and crypto. Stargate's plan is to blanket America with new data centers needed to power the next generation of AI capabilities. And it's going to require the US to double its capacity to generate electric power. And we need to get it done rapidly, Trump said. And to speed up the process of getting AI data centers built, Trump said he'll use emergency declaration to get new power generator plants built adjacent to the new data collection centers, which are needed to power the next phase of AI. And I don't want to read too much more, but they are massive. There's $500 billion in private funding to develop a series of massive data centers over the next 10 years. There's already 10 that have been built already. They can span more than 5 million square feet on 500 or more acres of land, and they will require massive amounts of electric power to cool the machines. Oracle's Larry Ellison noted that the data centers are already under construction. He said that the AI project was also tied to digital health records and would make it easier to treat a plethora of diseases. And, that kind of makes us look at the Trump 1.0, and we saw what happened with mRNA, but that's all I'll say about that.
Yeah, well, that basically they are touting mRNA and, cures through the V word with this AI. Basically, that's what Sam Altman and Allison were talking about. So this is Operation Warp Speed version 2, I think, potentially.
Exactly. I took a note here. It says, the concept of a golden age, or quote, golden dawn, or the dawn of a new golden age, is deeply rooted in the teachings of occult figures, even Aleister Crowley, Alice Bailey, of course, Madame Blavatsky. And in Alice Bailey's seminal work, The Externalization of Hierarchy, which I just read from, she outlines a plan to usher in this age culminating in 2025. Bailey describes a period before the year 2025 as time of preparation for the externalization of the spiritual hierarchy, and by her admission operates under Luciferian principles.
And that's actually a point for those that don't know. The hierarchy that Bailey is talking about was what she called ascended masters, which is a spiritual hierarchy. It's not like the hierarchy on earth of people. We're talking about, well, what I believe are principalities and powers. She's wanting to externalize them, the powers of darkness, though that's not how she would have probably seen it. But as Christians, that's how we see it. These are not some benign spirits. These are demonic entities.
They're very real demonic entities. And there's always a long-range plan. It's very normal for people to look at what's in front of them, but there's always an origin with everything, with God and with Satan back in the garden. That is the most important thing we have to always remember. When we're seeing things happening at the end, we have to remember there was a beginning. Something was put in motion in one place in this earth, in that Garden of Eden. There was a tree of life, and there was a tree of knowledge of good and evil. And we all know the story. God said, you can eat of any of the trees in the garden, but not that one. And then who was there? Satan was there. What did he offer them? Knowledge. He said the moment that she said, well, we're not to eat of it or we'll die. And he said, well, if you eat of that knowledge, because he knows, if you eat of that fruit, your eyes will be opened. You'll become like gods, knowing good and evil. This whole increase of knowledge, we read about that in the Bible when it says, for knowledge shall increase in those days. Well, back many years ago, it was like, well, technology, but it was at what? Like we had some VHS, maybe some computers. But see, Satan, there's three things Satan wants. It's, first of all, what is God? Omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. Well, the three I'm trying to say. He can't be any of those things. he has to network over the world, and knowledge to him is power. Knowledge is a dangerous thing. If you have the wrong knowledge, but you see, it's very godlike. You don't need God anymore if you can become your own God with knowledge at your fingertips. AI and this transhumanist agenda, this merging together of DNA into biometrics creates a database. And I want to read something. I don't know. A lot of people know who Yuval Noah Harari is, but in case they don't know, I think he's one of the worst. I think he's absolutely satanic.
Yeah.
He's an Israeli medievalist and a military historian, and he's a professor in the Department of History at the Hebrew University. And he's main advisor to Klaus Schwab. But I saw this. Listen to what he said. If so, we want to understand religion in general as a story about authority. Then in the 21st century, we will have a new dataist religion, a new algorithmic religion, which will tell people the source of authority is algorithms. These big data algorithms. If you have a big question in life or a small question in life, the big source of authority is data algorithms. The interviewer asked him, so what you are saying is who owns the data or who has access to the data are the new priests? And he replies, the new priests, the new kings, the new gods, whatever you want to call it, yes. In the 21st century, the most important asset will be data. People will lose control of their lives. It will be much easier to manipulate people. The very meaning of human life is likely to change. What does a human life look like when all the important decisions are taken by Google? It just says, oh, Google, what should I do? You know me better. So it could be a much more convenient and easy life if that person just allows Google to make the decision for them. But what kind of life is it? We don't know. The most interesting place today in the world in religious terms is Silicon Valley. It's not the Middle East. This is where the new religions are being created now. These are the religions that will take over the world.
Yeah. And basically the Stargate members, like Sam Altman and Allison, are both advocates for transhumanism. And let's be real, Trump's got these guys up there and along, on the other side with Elon Musk, who's also a proponent of transhumanism. This should be warning bells, ringing really loud warning bells for people. But what's happening, I think, is Trump's rolling out this, and this, and many of the things that Trump is doing seems really good. It's like as Christians, it's like, yeah, that's a good move, it seems. And so it has conservatives and Christians on board with that because they're seeing the things that he's rolling out which appear good. But what that's almost doing is like creating a diversion for the main event, the main thing, which is this transhumanist agenda and the AI and everything to do with AI and the digital world. And when you have these billionaires and these people up there who are obvious advocates for transhumanism, and there are quotes I, could read, which I don't think I'll bother, but, where all of those people have advocated for transhumanism. And so this should be ringing warning bells for people about what's really going on here and what the real agenda is. But a lot of people are asleep because they like some of the other stuff that Trump seems to be doing, which seems good. And everyone was sick of, the puppet on a string who was half dead, talking about Joe Biden before. And so now we've got someone who's a strong leader in power. And it's kind of got people lulled into this, let's see what happens next. And, and kind of going on, being swept away with it, swept along with it.
Well, what's really interesting with Trump, everything is emergency.
Yeah.
And so when you're running, when a president says emergency, it bypasses everything and it must be done. So if you're saying and so what he's calling this is an emergency, this AI digital infrastructure and biometrics. I want to share something with you. John, my husband told me that they installed something where he works. Okay. And you know where he works. And so he walks in, it's a big store. He walks in and he said, when you walk in, there's a screen right in front of you. Like you walk in and it's maybe 6 feet in front of you. And it's just right there, like it's right there. And it takes a picture of your face. He says, you look right into it. It takes a picture of your face. And for a second, either a green circle will surround your face or a red circle.
Wow.
And then I also read that they're going to be implementing that in the grocery stores. I don't know if it'll pass, but I believe it will have to, because why is there such a rush? Why is it emergency to be the AI capital and crypto capital of the whole world? You know, this crypto, this Bitcoin thing, all this wealth, this golden age. I did a whole lot more reading, and of course, I'm not going to be reading anything else, but it's about even what NAR is saying. See, our prophecies came true. This is the golden age of wealth, and we're going to have a utopian society, and everything will be done for us. Because see, the danger of this biometric, when your DNA goes into the biometrics of this, it's going, and I'm saying this, and I'm not going to give all the details because there's way too much, but it's going to force people out if you don't want to be a part of this system. Because look, there's already 10 of these buildings built. They're going to be built all over the United States for data collecting. They're data collecting centers. And once they have that, they have all the records of healthcare. By the way, it's going to be in when police pull you over. They have dash cams, body cams. Everything is going to go into these data centers.
Yep, and everything was digitalized and becoming more and more that way. And even though Trump has banned supposedly central bank digital currencies in America, he's done that with one hand, but on the other hand, he's promoting Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. So I think it's almost a bait and switch here. We're not going to have a central bank digital currency, but they're still taking us into this. I mean, digital currencies of any sort don't really exist. It's still another sort of fiat currency, you know. It's not like gold and silver. It's not tangible, and it's controllable and monitorable. And so I think it's a bit of a bait and switch with that whole thing. But all in all, this is a huge drive towards digitalization of everything and control and monitoring. Yep.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's...
I wanted to bring this up because I think it's important. A long time ago, I want to talk about the club.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Yeah. Yep.
I want to move on to that because it's going to speak directly into looking at long-range plans. Okay. So during 2016, I've been working.
Well, it was 2015, Joni. It was actually December 2015. Yep.
It was 2015. Thank you. Anyways, so I needed a job really bad and I couldn't find one. And finally one came up. It wound up being a concierge at a elitist Masonic club. I did not know that it was an elitist Masonic club. It was a platinum club in Newport Beach. And I had no idea what it was. I just wanted a job. When I walked out after the interview, I saw the big brass plate with the hand shaking. I was like, oh no. Anyways, long story short, God kept me working there. They paid me well. It was a difficult job. This club has White House staff that go through it all every day. I've met a lot of Congress people, that kind of thing. It was absolutely normal to have Secret Service come to my desk often. They don't say anything to you. They just come up. My name is so-and-so. I'm Capitol Police. I'm going to be sitting in that chair right over there. I'll be here for approximately 3 hours. And you learn right away. I learned right away. You don't talk to them. Like the first time, Tony, I said, because it felt awkward. And I said, may I offer you a beverage? And he glared at me. And I realized, and from then on, they don't talk to you. If anybody knows any Secret Service agents, you will know they do not talk to you. Okay. And they vibe you out hard. In fact, I dreaded when they would be in there. So one day, Secret Service agent, like any others, come to my desk, introduces himself. But here was the difference. He comes to the desk and says, my name is so-and-so. I'm Capitol Police. I'm going to be sitting on that chair right over there. I say what I typically say, okay, thank you. And he stays there. And he says, so how are you doing tonight? And I felt nervous, to be honest with you, and scared because you know why, Tony? Because back then I was a co-host on A Minute to Midnight, and I thought, oh, they probably did some background check and they're checking on me. But I was like, I'm fine. And so he starts talking about restaurants in the area. And this was nerve-wracking because I didn't know what was happening. So he asks me a question. So who do you think is going to be the next president? Well, I didn't know what to say, so I kind of played coy. And I said, oh, well, I don't know. I mean, it could be Donald Trump. And he said, oh, it will be Donald Trump. I go, it will? And he says, yeah. He said, he was chosen 2 years ago. We all know it. And I go, oh, okay. And then he said, you can ask me any question that you want. And I go, I can? And he said, yeah, you can ask me anything. So I asked him, what was up with those Jade Helm, Jade Helm 15, Jade Helm 16 things, right? I'm not going to go through everything he said, but I'm going to say, because this will take me directly to the one thing that I want to get to. So he said, what do you think they are? And I said, I don't know, civilian population control exercises. And he said, that's exactly what it is. And I said, okay, so let me ask you, is there going to be martial law? And he said, yes. He said, but it's not going to be what you think. It's not going to be like all of a sudden the whole United States is locked down. It'll start in big cities and it'll fan off into smaller cities. He said, do you know why? And I go, no, I don't have any idea. And he said, because when Trump gets into office, he is going to enact a radical immigration sweep that will cause chaos. I forgot, it was so long ago, but he told me, he said, it's going to cause cities to like melt down. And that's when that will happen. Now, okay, so after he finished his last term, so that's the end of that story. I don't want to go into everything else.
Yeah, well, let's just put people need, that was in December 2015.
Yes.
So that was almost a year before Trump had his first presidency, and he told you that Trump was going to be the next president, no doubt. And there is more to the story than that, but for sake of time, yeah.
So then after Trump left office, I thought to myself, because there's other things he said that did happen. And I said, well.
And we did cover this, by the way. We talked about this in January 2016, which was 10 or 11 months before the election. So you can go back and find a Minute to Midnight episode with more details, where we came out and said Trump will be the next president back then. So just so this isn't just something new. People can go back and search it. And then we did another show just after the first election when Trump was elected as well, and talked some more. So people can find this information way back. Anyway, sorry to interrupt, but
yeah, no, that's good. I'm glad you said that. So I thought, well, that never happened. He tried to build a wall and that failed. And so I went on. And now look what's happening. Look at what's happening with immigration. He said he wants 1 million people deported within 18 months. He's trying to get a ton of stuff done within 18 months. But here we are again. So the point is who was that Secret Service agent? Why did he tell me that? How did he know? I mean, because no Secret Service agents talk to you. I'm telling you, they want nothing to do with you. They let you know. And so when he said he was chosen 2 years ago, so if you go 2 years back from 2015, you're looking at 2013. that he's saying, and he said, we all know. He goes, we all know.
Look, I just add something in here. I wasn't intending to do this, but in 2014, Christine Lagarde gave a speech to the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, and she basically gave a rundown on numerology, and, you know, a lesson, which was like really out there. But anyway, it was a 777 lesson, basically. She brought out all these numbers that add up to 777. Now, Donald Trump, in his first inauguration, lined up with a whole lot of 777s. I wrote an article just before Trump was elected and said, I believe Christine Lagarde's speech about the 777s was saying Donald Trump is the next president, and this is how she's communicating it to the elite. So I said that before the first election. And so I believe that was what that speech was. It was to prepare those, you know, people that are in the club that Donald Trump is our man. He's been chosen. And that was 2014. So, yeah.
Well, because anybody who studies like secret societies, and I'm not talking about the little guys in red hats on scooters. That's like not the big deal. You know, we're talking about globalist elitists. We don't even know who they are. We know some of them, Klaus Schwab, that kind of thing. Yeah. But I know this because just of studying and listening to their own words, they have a language that they speak. Yes. Now, other people are listening to it and going, oh, whatever that means. But they're speaking to other global elitists. They're telling them what's happening. So they have a language. They have a code language and things that they say that it'll go over the heads of millions, billions of people, but the certain people are like, oh, okay, and they understand what's happening. But when you think about what's happening right now and this radical immigration sweep, because it is radical, okay, and he wants 1 million people out within 18 months. And right now it's just getting started, and there's a lot of upset. I don't want to talk about immigration, but the point is that there are long range plans. It's not just about what happened 5 years ago. It's not just, well, you know, back when Obama was president. We have to remember there's a beginning and there is an ending, and Christ is coming again. That day is upon us. It's coming closer and closer. Knowledge is Satan wants to be omnipotent. He wants to be omnipresent. He wants to be all-knowing, omniscient, and he can't be. But in this AI transhumanist technology, this is how he can do that. And so why the big rush? I was thinking about something today in the book of Revelation, and it came to me. And in fact, I was thinking about it just a few days ago because I was in the book of Revelation. And in verse 11, it says, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And then verse 15, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And I thought to myself, now hold on a minute. There's nobody who has life-giving power but Jesus Christ. Satan doesn't have power to give life to anything. He's a spirit of death. Notice it doesn't say it walks around and it's moving. It doesn't say that. In the past, I used to think, oh, what are they going to do? Carve something out and some kind of paranormal power comes over it and it moves around. Not anymore. You see it clearly. It says here, he had power to give life unto the image. Now we're seeing AI images, and that the image of the beast should both speak and cause. So AI is going to be a powerful word because words are power. This is so dangerous because we could go as far as saying or ask the question, is this then the mark of the beast? Is this what you consciously give your life over to? Because when you study properly the that those who take the mark, they don't take it not knowing. It's a damnable mark. Once you take that mark, we all know what happens. They should be killed. But if you're not killed, you've already signed yourself over to the lake of fire. And what's really interesting, Tony, is that at the end, after Satan is cast into the lake of fire with the false prophet and the Antichrist, and we see that new heaven and the new earth, there's only one tree standing anymore. What is that one? It's the tree of life. And it says, in the midst of the tree of it, and on either side of the river, there was a tree of life, which bare 12 manner of fruits and yielded her fruit every month. And the leaves of the tree for the healing of the nations. And I thought to myself, well, I printed this out. Are the leaves of the trees for the healing of the nations? Because they had eaten off the tree of knowledge of good and evil that made them die. That's a death tree. Because the people that take that bark take the mark of the second death. See, they died in the garden, but they lived, right? Their principle, their spirit died. And so they were just soulish, housed in flesh. At the end, you only have one tree standing, that tree of life. And people eat of that tree and eat the fruit of that. And the leaves are for the healing. And I think because of what damage that tree of the knowledge of good and evil did. Because let's be realistic right now. Everybody is godlike now. I don't care if they're sitting in a tiny little house or some big house on the hill or the man at the White House. You're talking the whole thing, this whole talk we're having right now is about power. It's going to need the greatest power of electricity that ever was. It needs to be built right away. Why does it need to be built right away? I think because the enemy wants it built right away. Because Satan knows what time it is. And he knows people love power. Come on, let's face it. Humanity has been groomed by it from being on Facebook. If you don't like somebody, and it is a good feature, delete and block, but people started to overdo it. Well, you now have offended me. People have become thin-skinned. You don't exist anymore. Block and delete. And it's like a godlike power. Everything is done in programs and creation. You don't even need God anymore. Why would you need God? See, when you have that kind of knowledge, that goes into a place where it destroys you. And it drives you so far away from Jesus Christ, where you say, I have no need of you. I'm rich and increased of goods. I have need of nothing. I have it all here. But I promise you right now, this Trojan horse that he wants is a tree in the midst of the field of America. It is a tree of knowledge of good and evil. And the thing of, but if you collect DNA samples, you can get, the
mRNA cures for things.
Right, in 48 hours.
Yeah.
And so everything is bam, 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 is super fast. But I'll tell you, Tony, this is so frightening to me because right now, all even around us, they're building 15-minute cities, stack and pack.
And we won't go into it, but the whole LA fires, is going to play into that. The Maui fires, various things like that. I just want to throw in one other thing here quickly because time's running out. But, the fact that it's all, let's drill, baby, drill and get more gas and oil. It's like, okay, they realize they need so much electricity to run all this beast system. Let's do it however we can, It's not going to cut it just having solar power and wind power. It's too expensive. It doesn't work that well. We've got to drill, baby, drill, so we can make the electricity for these data centers and the AI infrastructure. So, yeah, it's nice in a sense. Okay, we can still have our petrol engine cars and things at the moment. But I think there's a bigger agenda than just helping us to have cars,
The healthcare industry is everything. Everybody goes to the doctor. And I see it happening. You want to do banking with us? You want to see a doctor? You want to buy, sell? You want to trade? You got to be part of the system.
And eventually, I think that will come into
it will eventually
the whole with the transhumanist thing, and basically linking people with the cloud. And at that point, you could be giving away your free will entirely, and becoming not only getting information from them, but them putting it back into you directly, into your brain. And I'm not saying that's what it is, but I see that as a potentially very likely a big part of what the mark of the beast is going to be, is that. And that's why perhaps there's no salvation after that. Once you become part of that, you're controlled, basically. And people will make that choice. We either make the choice to say no, or people will largely go, oh yeah, we like that idea, let's do it. I don't see the beast forcing people so much as it says causing people. In other words, people might likely willingly want it, jump at it, and say, yes, give it to us. Anyway, Joni, I guess we probably better not go too much longer, but it's an interesting discussion, and there is more, so much more.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm glad that we were able to even just cover this, give people something to think about, and start them on their own research and their eyes to be open, And that was the one thing in the garden. It says Satan told him that your eyes will be open and you will know the difference between good and evil, and you'll become like a god. But God also says to Paul the Apostle, I'm sending you to open up their eyes, to turn them from darkness to light, from the power of Satan unto God. See, Satan, this is going into his hour and power, but we have to stay strong in the Lord. Just keep close to Christ. It's going to require a lot of faith in the future. It looks kind of good right now and everything's fine, but the Lord wants you to stay close to him. He wants you, whatever you're doing, you're praying, you're reading your Bible, don't stop doing that. Just stay faithful to Christ. Trust him. He will deliver you. He'll walk us through this.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. So, Joni, where do people find you online?
Well, they can find me on YouTube and Rumble, and it's Joni Stahl's Field Notes, pretty basic.
Right, that's good. Well, fascinating discussion, and probably we should come back and do a part 2 really soon, I feel.
I think we should, because there's so much happening. Instead of trying to cram everything here, we could, come back a couple weeks later. I'm sure more will have happened by then. So
yeah. All right. So thanks, Joni, and we'll catch up again very soon.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me on.
Cheers. Also, folks, don't forget minutetomidnight.com. Please subscribe to us down the right-hand side of the page, where it says subscribe to blog via email. So there have been some pretty interesting articles posted on our website too, so you'll only find them at minutetomidnight.com if you want to read the articles. So please subscribe to us there. And A Minute to Midnight is run by donations 100%. I want to say thank you to the folks that do donate. If anyone else wants to help by donating, you can do that at our website as well, minutetomidnight.com. And the music used, I've written, played and recorded. God bless, and God willing, we'll be back with another show in a few days' time.